Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm glad you're here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the GMAT and various other things. I know that we're on a little bit of a time crunch here, so I'm going to be going through the slides relatively quickly, but if you have any questions, I'll stick around after the presentation and we can talk a little bit. But here's today's agenda. We're going to go over why you want to go to business school, what you can expect from the GMAT, what do you need to prep for the GMAT or why you need to prep for it, learn how to score higher, and then general Q&A, and we will do that obviously later after this session. So why business school? So this is business school by the numbers. All of the numbers on this slide mean something. Does anyone want to take a crack at what they think 560 means? Anybody? It could be the score to get into business school. It's actually the average median score right now that test takers are seeing to get into business school. What about 102? Does anybody want to take a crack at what that means? That's the average number of hours spent preparing for the GMAT, okay? What about 5? 5's a pretty easy one. It's the number of years that the GMAT is actually valid for after you take it. I'm just going to read the rest off. 720 is the average score for the top 10 business schools. 4 years is how long it takes to get your return on investment. That's the average time it takes to pay off and make enough to pay off your business school endeavor. 10 points. For every 10 points that you improve, you will see a $5,000 increase in salary. So that's pretty significant. So now that we have had some fun with numbers, let's look at the value of an MBA. The MBA class of 2011 on the value of their degree in the years following business school. A lot of them did it for personal reasons, obviously. They reported they achieved their goals, be it to earn more money or to become a better manager. 84% said they wanted their promotion or they wanted it faster than they expected. And then there's financial reasons, probably the less noble, obviously. They just want to make more money. 69K in 3 years after business school. So here are some reasons, some pretty good reasons why to get your MBA and go to business school. What can you do with your MBA? Well, this is just a general list. I hope that you have really thought this over and know what you want to do. Some of you don't, and that's okay too. But this is, these are just some ideas of what you can do with an MBA. Which path you should choose. I know that Robert Morris has many different paths as well as many other business schools in the country. There's a full-time path, a part-time path, executive, accelerated. You'll have to talk to Sarah about which program might fit you and which programs they offer here. Every school is different, but these are the general paths that you can take in order to get your MBA, and I'm sure that they can talk about that later. This is kind of the timeline. This is going to give you a sense. So the first thing you should do before obviously you apply to a business school is get on their website and look at their timeline. You should really bother their admissions office, and they may not like that I say that. But find out what their timeline is. Every business school differs a little bit as far as their timeline goes, when they want their application in. And you also have to think, what year do you want to start business school, right? This is kind of a general timeline. Deadlines, traditionally, it's in September to mid-October. That's round 1. And then there's another deadline in January. And then the round 3, obviously, is in March to April. The GMAT is offered many different days of the year. So deadlines vary by school, so you're going to have to investigate that yourself. But these are the 3 main questions you should ask yourself. When will you start? When will you apply? And when should you take the GMAT? And a lot of those questions can probably be answered by the school that you want to get into. Okay, so this is the GMAT Basics. This is what you can expect. The test is $250, so it's not just a very cheap test. So ideally, you want to take it once and you want to be done with it. I say that for many different reasons, but if there's no other reason, just for the cost of the test alone, just take it once, be done with it. Don't keep trying to retake it. It's just a waste of your time, obviously, and a waste of your money. The format is a computer adaptive test. Does anyone know what that means? What is a computer adaptive test? Anyway? That means the test is actually alive, as I like to say. We'll get into that a little more in a couple more slides, but it's really the only graduate school test that is a computer adaptive test. Not the MCAT, not the LSAT, not the GRE. None of those are computer adaptive, but it's just the GMAT, and that's what makes it unique. Appointments available year-round at designated testing centers. You can retake it every 16 days, but you can only take it for a maximum of 5 times in a rolling 12 months. Once again, though, you want to take it once and really be done with it, twice at the absolute most. Like we said earlier, it's good for 5 years, so you can take it, you know, if you're not going into business school, you can take it now and, you know, wait 5 years. And like I said, it's still good for 5 years, but I would take it, honestly, most students probably take it when they graduate from their undergrad, when they have a little more free time, when they're doing an internship or working, and then they really buckle down because it's going to take you 2 to 3 months to study for the test. So you're going to need time, and sometimes it's just too much when you're in school right now. The prep time, the average time for prepping is 102 hours. So, you know, if you break that down, if you study 10 hours a week, it's going to take you about 10 weeks to study. But some people study more, it takes people longer. So it's, you know, there's no hard and fast rule to that. Application deadlines, like I said, they vary by the school and the program, and you can register at nba.com. Okay, so what does the GMAT cover? So the first section is analytical writing, and it's one essay for 30 minutes. And you're basically going to analyze the analysis of an argument. That's the first thing you're going to do. Then you're going to go into an integrated reasoning section. It's a 12-part multi-question section with 30 minutes also. Your question types are going to be table analysis, graphics interpretation, 2-part analysis, multi-source reasoning. Then you're going to go into quantitative. It's 37 multiple choice questions for 75 minutes. So if you're doing the math on that, you roughly have about a minute to answer per each question, or rather 2 minutes to answer each question. So, you know, time becomes a major factor on the GMAT. A lot of practice. I think the best way to study for the GMAT is to take practice tests, because then you really feel what it's like to take the actual test. You can get your timing down because you want to answer all the questions you can, or you want to answer all of the questions, really. So that's the quantitative section, and then you have the verbal section at 41 multiple choice questions, so even more for the same amount of time. So you even have a less, you know, shorter amount of time to answer these questions. And the verbal has reading comprehension, sentence correction, and critical reasoning. I think a lot of people think that the verbal section is one of the harder sections actually on the test, and from what I've heard, I think it hangs up most of my students. So this is kind of what it looks like. The seated time is about 4 hours long. So it's not a short test, obviously. This is what the score distribution looks like, this beautiful bell curve, as we all like. So it's based on a 200 to 800 scale. The median score, like we've said earlier, is a 560 for all test takers. And then the average score for the top 10 business schools is way far up there, around the 95th percentile, 90th percentile at a 720. So this is kind of what it looks like. So obviously, if you score a 560, you are doing no better and no worse than 50% of the people above you and below you. Every question can really make you leap in front of people, thousands of people that are taking the test. So, you know, really take the time to study, prep efficiently, and take the test seriously, because this is going to be one of the #1 factors as to whether you get into business school. So this is how they kind of evaluate your score. I can't speak for RMU or any other business school, but we've kind of done surveys, and this is kind of how they evaluate everything. So your average score at your target program, you have an advantage for every 10 points you go over, obviously, and you have a definite disadvantage for every 10 points you go under. So this is kind of what they're looking for. Obviously, you want to hit at least the target score, and then I'd say do 10 points more to be really safe. In case maybe your letters aren't as strong, maybe your GPA wasn't as strong, you want to definitely make up for that in your GMAT, because those are the things they're going to be looking at. So this is what I meant when I said it's a computer adaptive test, and it's really the only test that does this. So when you start a section, the first question is going to be what they consider a very mid-range or mid-level question as far as difficulty goes. So as you can see this dot, it's going to be right in the middle of the score. Let's say that you get that question correct. The test doesn't know what question it's going to throw at you next until you answer the question before it. So if you get that question correct, it's going to throw you a harder question. If you get that question correct, it's going to throw you even harder question. It's when you start getting questions wrong that they kind of start equalizing out and figure out what your score is. So as you can see, this test taker answered the first question right, answered the second question right, so they're getting really high up in difficulty, and then they answered it wrong, so drop them in difficulty. And that's kind of how they hone in on your score. By the end of each section, you should be getting every other question wrong. That's how they designed this test, because they want to figure out right where you belong. The first 3 or 4 questions in each section are critically important. If you answer those first 3 wrong, you're never going to really get back up to the higher tier of the 800 level. You'll never make it back up there. It's going to throw you down, 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 and then you can only get so high because you only have so many questions left to answer. So you have to really knock those first 3 questions, I would say, out of the park to get into the, I would say, mid-range, the 70th percentile to the 100% or the 99th percentile. So, but they should be all mid-range to fairly difficult questions, the first 3. But that's what that looks like. And then obviously, what is this over here? The potential dangers of poor pacing. So let's say you start answering a lot of questions wrong. Obviously, you can only score in the lower percentile. And also the worst thing you can do is time running out. Don't let time run out, because that's just going to penalize you even more. As you can see, the person over there, obviously the time ran out on them. They scored very, very low because of that. So honestly, just start guessing at the end if you have to. So why do you need to prep for the GMAT? A candidate's low entrance exam score is the biggest applications killer. So we've done a lot of research on this, and from the business schools that we've contacted, they say that a low GMAT score is basically going to kill you more than anything else. That's one of the first things they look at. Then obviously a low undergraduate GPA is followed closely behind that. Lack of relevant work experience, poor letters of rec, poorly written personal essays. In no way are the things below the yellow, the work experience or the letters of rec, those are very, very important still. But the 2 main things that you really need to worry about are your GMAT and your GPA. For most of you, I assume that you're probably getting into the final days of your college. You may not, I don't know. There might be freshmen in here. But if you're a junior or a senior right now, your GPA isn't going to change that much, right? You only have a few more semesters left to really move the GPA, and even if you get straight A's, your GPA is probably pretty concrete. It might move up a little bit, but it's not going to move up leaps and bounds. But your GMAT, you can move just by prepping efficiently, prepping for the right amount of time, and doing what you need. You can actually, leap above all of the other applicants a lot by really knocking the GMAT out of the park. So obviously business schools are competitive. I even know Robert Morris is competitive. But this is just a look at the top 10 business schools and what they expect out of you. A 732, which is very high at Stanford. And look at the acceptance rates. Only 7% of the people that apply to Stanford are getting in. But business schools, even all the way down, even into the hundreds, are very, very competitive. So that kind of gives you an idea. There's a lot of people, everyone in this room is a competitor to you. So take it seriously and try to get the best score you humanly can. The return of investment on GMAT Prep. So, I think that this is a pretty cool graph. The average starting MBA salary with the average GMAT score. So as you can see, as the GMAT score increases, I don't think this is by accident, the salary increases as well. From all of these people, it looks like we took about 50 people. Their salaries increased with the GMAT score. So it kind of goes hand in hand. If you're going to score, if you're going to take the time to prep for the GMAT, do well, take it seriously, and get into a great business school, chances are you're going to be making a much higher salary than someone that maybe didn't take it as seriously and just got into a mediocre school. So small gains equals massive leapfrogging, and I've been kind of touching on this a little bit. Just answering a few more questions correctly can catapult your score and your percentile significantly. So if you look at like the 560, which is like the 48th to 50th percentile, to get to the about 10 or the 58th percentile, so 10 percentile points above that, is a 590, and that's only a difference of 3 questions answered correctly. That's all it is. So as you can see, taking the time to practice and practice and practice and take GMAT practice tests over and over again, and answering just 3 more questions correctly and prepping efficiently, I mean, you just jumped again above 10% of your competition by answering 3 questions right. That's how closely clustered these scores are. So, doing the right practice, obviously, the right prep is very, very important. Get a higher score. So obviously I'm from Kaplan Test Prep. I don't know if you know what we do. I hope so. You may have taken us for the SAT or other graduate tests or non-graduate tests, but we prep students obviously all the time. That's what I do. We have the only official test day experience. So where you will actually take the GMAT, we actually have a contract with them, and we are allowed to take students in there and actually give them free test prep on computers. Not free for you, but it's included in our course. So, you can overcome test day anxiety, no surprises, and the official test day experience is included in your course. So it's a real testing center. It's a real test from previous years, and that's really cool. I think that's a definite advantage to taking a Kaplan course. We have a lot of new books. We just reformatted our whole course, overhauled it. We have 5,000 practiced questions, 9 full-length exams to take. Like I said, the more exams you take, the better, but I at least recommend that you take 3 practice exams. We have 180 hours of total instruction and practice material and 13 classroom sessions, including advanced verbal and 2 advanced quant sections. So there's a lot of content in our courses, obviously. And we're gonna give you a higher score efficiently. Look, we know you guys are busy. We know that you have things to do. Some of you are obviously taking really heavy course loads. Some of you are working, Netflix and chill and all that. We know that you're really busy, so we want to prep you efficiently. So what we have is something called Smart Reports. And what this does is any question that you answer with Kaplan online, which is where you're going to be answering most of your questions, we record it. And we put this into a really pretty graph at the end. So let's say you go home and you answer 100 questions. And we're going to pull up the graph when you're done, and we're going to say, hey, you did really great in verbal, specifically passage type questions, but you did very, very poorly in quantitative, and this is where we need to work, specifically these types of questions. Because you don't want to be learning the things that you already know, right? Like, test prep is not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. Your strengths may be different from the person next to you, right? So it's not one-size-fits-all, so we make this very, efficient prepping for you and what your needs are, and we tell you exactly what you need to be covering and what you need to be studying. These are our 4 main avenues of test prep here. We have live online, where you're sitting at home or wherever you are, if you're on the go, if you travel a lot. You can attend class from anywhere. There are set class times and days of the week. There's in-person, which is sort of like this. This is what we do. With a teacher in front of you. There's class times, obviously. There's self-paced. This is for somebody that can't really attend a classroom and they have a really difficult schedule and they can only study at 2 in the morning. They're kind of like DVR'd class sessions, and you can go and watch them, access them anytime, 24/7, and it's good for 6 months. And then there's private tutoring. This is for students that are maybe having a lot of trouble in a specific section, or for students that really want to score and get into a really high business school, maybe one of the top 10. That's the private tutoring package. And if you guys have any questions about any of our packages that we offer at Kaplan, and all of these come with all of our books, all of our practice questions, it's like a big bundle, so it comes with everything included. But you can talk to me after if you have any questions about that. There's also something that we came out with not too long ago called GMAT Prep Plus. So there's GMAT Prep in person, as you can see. And then there's Prep Plus, which is you get 3 hours of one-on-one time with a GMAT faculty member, an expert, somebody who's gone through the whole thing. They're going to guide you on what maybe you should be doing right now, what you're doing wrong, or just go over questions of the GMAT with you. There's also included a Math Foundation self-paced, and then a GMAT Data Sufficiency self-paced section as well that we include with our Plus section. It's really cool. It's a really good value. I mean, I think 3 hours with a GMAT faculty expert is probably worth it alone, but those other things are great too. And of course at Kaplan, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been in the business for 40 years, prepping students for the GMAT. We have something called our Higher Score Guarantee. We guarantee that you're going to score higher on your real test than you did coming into it. So when you take a Kaplan course, the first thing you're going to do is take a practice test with us, and that's what we call our diagnostic test. And we're going to base everything off that score. So if you do not score higher on the real test than you did on that first test that you took with us, you can get your money back. We will give you all of your money back. Or you can take the course again completely for free. It's something that's kind of like an insurance policy. It's very, very rarely used, but it's always nice to have, right? We're not going to leave you in the dust. Also, what comes with this is, let's say life happens. Maybe you get sick or you have to attend business elsewhere, and you can't take the GMAT when you wanted to take it. You can just stop our course and then retake it again anytime you want. So we give you one of those. If something happens to you or anyone, you can always take our course again completely for free. So we stand behind our product. We know it works, and we're here to help you, obviously. So I want to thank you for coming. I know that I was on a short amount of time there. Do I have time for any questions? If anybody wants to ask me any questions, don't forget to visit us. This website is kaplangmat.com. Don't worry if you're outside the U.S., but that's where you can find more of our courses, more information on our products, more information on the GMAT. But you're more than welcome to ask me any questions now, or these lovely ladies as well, on Robert Morris Business School. So does anyone have any questions about the GMAT? Anyone? What about the business school here itself for Sarah? Nothing? All right. Yeah, I guess. Well, thank you guys. If you do have any questions, like I said, I'll stick around. You can also email me. I don't have anywhere to write my email address, but just come up to me and I'll give you my business card if you want to email me or call me as well. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, we're going to pull 2 raffle tickets. One's going to be for a t-shirt, and another is going to be for a phone case, little wallet thing.